Hello, beautiful souls. It's Kat from Elevate, my channel where we talk about recovering from toxic relationships and regaining self-love and self-esteem. Today's topic is going to be why healing can take a long time and that it's okay to take a long time to heal. And it's normal, especially after a toxic relationship. So before I get into today's topic, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do and like this video at the end if you feel it resonated with you. So today's topic is going to be why healing takes a long time. And I want to also talk about having a support system, a good support system. So it's two things, when you're healing from a toxic relationship, it's an experience that traumatizes you. And if you've dated or just had a toxic person in your life, you know that just the interactions and the dynamic between you and them has brought up a lot of pain. It's brought up a lot of anger, maybe depression, sadness, and just all these negative feelings. And that takes a long time to go away. I think we go through stages of grief when we are ending a toxic relationship, whether it be a romantic relationship or a friendship. I think we all go through these processes of grief, and it triggers our old trauma. So it triggers trauma from the past. And unfortunately, that can be very deep, and it can just kick up all these old things that we may not realize at the time it's kicking up, but we're just getting re-triggered from our past and a lot of times from our childhood, right? We know that. You may be talking to friends, you may be talking to people about your experiences. Like maybe you have close friends and you're talking to them about your experiences and how you were hurt and how this person had messed with your mind and they were not truthful, they were dishonest and they used you or they abused you, the things they did and said. And finally you've left that person or it ended and you're let's say you're in no contact, so that's great and you're down the right path. However, there's still this underlying part of you that's not healed right away, right? It takes a long time. It could take months. It could even take years to be healed from this type of relationship. And I just wanted to make this video so that you know that's normal. I think if you have a really good support system of people that understand what you've gone through, then they can help you by being there for you and being a sounding board and listening to you talk about what you experienced. However, if people don't know what you've been through, I think a lot of times may um, they may not understand unless you explain it to them. They may not understand that you were trauma bonded and that there's intermittent reinforcement and there's all these things that cause you to become attached to a toxic person. So you really have to pick and choose who you're going to share this with, because some people may be friends, but they're not like those kind of supportive friends that will actually understand your situation and your experiences and have that compassion for you. You need to find people and share this with people that have compassion. Maybe they've been through it themselves, or maybe they just understand that this is possible because they know of other people who have been through it. So, people mean well and they want to be there for you, and they want to tell you to get over it, right? They want to say, like, just forget about this person. Like, you just have to move on. And that is so hard because it's invalidating your experience, because it's not about just getting over it. If it was that easy, we'd all be fine right afterwards, right? But unfortunately, when you've dealt with a toxic person, there's this level of psychological manipulation and this psychological controlling that they've done with you. And so there are just these like additional levels to the attachment you feel for this person. So like, let's say you had a healthy situation, a healthy relationship, you wouldn't have all those levels of the psychological dysfunction and manipulation, the control that that person tried to have on you, all the power plays, um, the behavioral conditioning like intermittent reinforcement, the contradictory behaviors that even cause the intermittent reinforcement, Like a person who's healthy would have never done those things. So you would have had sort of like this consistent person, fairly consistent person, and then the relationship wouldn't have worked out for one reason or another. Maybe you're not compatible. Maybe one person wants to have children and the other person doesn't. Just there's some other incompatibility. And so you were not able to move that relationship forward. So that's like a healthy relationship. There was no abuse. There was no manipulation. Unfortunately, when you're dealing with toxic people, there's just all those other levels. And so you need to make sure that the people that you're surrounding yourself with, that you're using as your support system, during this period of time where you're going through so much pain, they have to be people that are going to see and empathize with you, have compassion for you, as well as patience, because it's not going to be easy for them to watch you go through this pain and watch you go through all this. And they may get frustrated with you if you don't have the right people on your side, that you're surrounding yourself with this small support group. But you do need a support group of people around you, because it's very hard to make it through by yourself. And like I said, the grief that you feel and the trauma you feel from this split, this separation from this toxic person right now, that is compounded by all of the rejections and people who have left you from the past, and all of the people who have abused you in the past. And that can go all the way back and back and back to when you were born. So you're dealing now with all these compounded aspects of grief. You're dealing with all these old hurts and rejections and things that remind you of the past. And it's just like this ball of grief and sadness and anger and frustration that you feel, because you're also at the same time in shock. I think like it's because you're saying to yourself, why did this happen to me? Like, why does this happen to me? And I don't know why, I wind up staying with these people, and why do I accept this kind of treatment? And, as you will grow and you will change, you will learn the reason why is codependency, and you have to then try to control your codependency, which I think I probably talked about this before, but like narcissistic people and people with other cluster B personality disorders and people with mental illness, they can all be codependent as well, but they're not codependent in the same way. So they can think they're codependent, but it's not the same, because they have the other issue as well, which is more dangerous, let's say, dangerous to other people who don't have mental illness or cluster B personality disorders. So if you just have codependency by itself, it's a lot easier to sort out. But, like often the dynamic of people that have NPD or narcissistic tendencies, or people that have like BPD or something, to me, I feel like in my experiences, they have displayed codependent tendencies as well. There's like this kind of unhealthy dependence, right? And that's like what codependency is. So part of codependency, a big part of codependency. So I think, again, if you're healing and it's taking a long time, I don't want you to feel ashamed. I don't want you to feel like you're alone. I don't want you to feel like you're the only one, because so many people are struggling with this, like people on my channel, friends I know, myself, I've struggled with it. And it can take a really long time, because it really depends on how much you trusted this person and how much you let your guard down. So for me, the last time it happened to me, I've talked about it before on this channel. Someone I think has BPD. I had let my guard down completely, because I knew someone who knew him and said to me, "Oh, this is like a great person," and like I had this picture painted in my head of who this person was before I even really knew this person, because this other person had told me all of these things about how great this person was. Turns out that wasn't true. And that person who told me those things is in denial. And unfortunately, I wound up becoming a victim to this circumstance where I let my guard down too far. I trusted too much and I got hurt just terribly. And there was no resolution or no closure. And some of you may be trying to heal and you feel like you can't heal because there's no closure. And closure is something you really have to get for yourself. There is no closure. That's the whole thing. Like with toxic people, I really feel like there's just no closure. And that's something you have to accept. So I think like in contrast, maybe a healthy relationship, there might be some closure, but unfortunately with toxic people, it's not going to happen. There's I've tried to wrap it up like really nice and like make peace with toxic people and just be cordial and just like kind of like clear the air, but like they actually won't do that and they want to keep everything in like a bad blood. Like they want to keep things bad. And if you just don't understand. You're like, well, what's the big deal? Like, why can't you just make peace with me? In fact, like in circumstances where I never had done anything bad to the person, they had done so many bad things to me, and I'm the one reaching out to them like, hey, like let's just make peace so it's so like everything is good. And they won't do it. It's because they're like their mind is skewed. They think that you've done like terrible things to them, and they come up with all these sort of like stories that they tell themselves in their mind about how you're bad and it's you, and everything gets twisted around. So you're never going to get closure from that kind of person because they don't see reality. They're not seeing and perceiving reality the same way you are. And that's so frustrating because we don't want to have enemies. We don't want to have someone who misunderstands us too. Like we don't want to feel like someone looks at us as an enemy or looks at us as being bad or have hurt them. And especially when that was not our intention. And a lot of times when you're codependent or you're acting in a codependent way towards someone who's got mental illness or one of these personality disorders, you're never going to win. They're always going to look at you like you're the bad person and they're going to blame you and they're going to not take accountability, and you're going to go through this over and over again, even at the end. So even at the end, you want this closure. You want this closure and you still can't get what you want. So it's like all this time you've just been like, okay, it's over now. Like, let's at least have some kind of peaceful ending. I just want things to just be peaceful at the end. And they're like, nope, nope. They won't answer you, or they'll answer you and they'll be abusive, or they'll answer you and they'll be like laundry listing all these things that you did wrong and you're terrible. So basically, you're not getting any closure from these people. And it's sad because it is something that would be nice if we could just wrap this up and have things be more peaceful. But again, they just don't do that. So you'll struggle with that fact that there's no closure. And that takes a longer time, I think, than if you had a relationship where there was closure, where it was healthy and there was some sort of talk at the end and you guys kind of realized it just wasn't working out and you just weren't compatible. So I think the lack of closure is going to prolong your healing. The triggering of the old traumas and old rejections from your past are going to cause a longer period of healing. You may feel invalidated too if you have people around you who are pushing you to heal and pushing you to speed this up. Like, just get over it. There are so many fish in the sea. All those things that people say to try to make you feel better, but it actually makes you feel worse. And it kind of makes me think, so there's this, I was thinking about toxic positivity. It's that kind of thing. So it's like someone's trying to be helpful and trying to be positive, but in fact, they're actually invalidating you and making it worse. It's just that they don't realize what they're doing. They're invalidating your feelings, and it just makes you feel worse, right? Because now you feel bad that it actually happened to you. And then you feel doubly bad now because you're not over it when people think you should be over it. And you're gonna have friends that can't handle you talking about this. Like that's okay. You have to really recognize which friends are going to handle this and be there for you through thick and thin, and which friends will kind of get, they're not able to handle it, or they're able to handle very little. You'll see. And it also depends on how long you were in the relationship, how long you put up with the abuse, because some friends where you've been telling them this whole time, let's say, for 5 years, you've been telling them how you've been abused by someone. Now, you broke up with them or they broke up with you. That friend is maybe tapped out with like energetically being able to support you. Like maybe that friend has like supported you for so long. They actually just feel so drained from listening to your stories of pain and all of the things that happened to you. It's very possible. So, one thing you really need to do is get a therapist, and a therapist that fits with you. I know that for myself, like I've had different therapists, and they've had different strengths, and you need to figure out who's going to work for you right now. And if you do wind up getting a new therapist and you have gone a few times and you don't feel like that person's really helping you, or that person really has a clear idea of how to help you, then I would say move on to another therapist. I would say that person's not for you, because I feel like there are therapists that just have their own mindset and they're not going to budge from that, and it may not resonate with you, and it may not be, the way that you want to heal. Like I had one therapist a few years ago, and within like the second session, I think, she said to me, you have to forgive your ex-boyfriend, otherwise you'll never heal. And I don't really subscribe to that being true. I think it's nice if you can forgive at a certain point. I think you get to a level of indifference. I think indifference is like what I would encourage you to strive to get to, so that you're not emotionally swayed one way or the other. You're not angry and resentful, but you're also not hanging on and loving this person and longing for this person, but you're just indifferent. I think indifference is really like the opposite of love and the opposite of longing and attaching to someone. So I would encourage you to strive to get to indifference, but I wouldn't necessarily say you have to forgive. It's nice if you can get to that place where you can forgive. But if you don't get there necessarily, at least try to get to indifference. So that's all I really had to say today. I just wanted you to know it's normal and it's okay for you to take as much time as you need. Some people take years to get over these relationships, and I would encourage you not to date anyone, and I would encourage you to take all the time you need and work with a therapist, learn as much as you can online, of course. I do have that course coming out on Valentine's Day, which you can access that day online. It's an online course that you log in and you take all the modules. There's PDF worksheets and things that you can download and work on your own, as well as videos that you can watch. So that might help you as well if you're going through a toxic breakup and you're trying to get over it. You're trying to get to the point where you're getting over it. My videos are both about the toxic people and what they've done to you, but also about how you can heal yourself. And I think you're going to see that as you progress in your healing journey, you get to a place where you start to want to heal yourself more than you want to go back to them. You're going to get to that place where there's almost like a crossroads, and you may get pulled, here and there from time to time. You're not going to be like a straight arrow, only going one direction, but you're going to have to make a decision at some point. Am I going towards healing, or am I going back to the toxic person or the abuse? And obviously the healthy choice is to go towards the healing. That's what you want to do. But as you travel in that direction, it's okay if you veer off a little bit. Maybe you break no contact. Maybe you send an email and, apologize to this person, or say, hey, like, I'd love to get together. Okay, you made a mistake. You went off the path. You went towards the abuse. Get back on the path. Get back on the path. That's all you can do. You can't beat yourself up. You can't make yourself perfect. You're a human being and you love this person. You have affection and caring for this person. And it happens to all of us. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's on this perfect healing journey where they never mess up and they do the perfect thing all the time. And certainly I'm included in that. So we're all in this together. We're doing the best we can, and that's all you can do. And you just course correct. If you fall off course, you course correct. So I hope this helps you today. And again, if you need further help, you can download my free ebook. You can also sign up for the course on Valentine's Day if you want to take it into a more in-depth healing process.